Jibber Jabber community, welcome to a special Wednesday night. Man, we have been firing on all cylinders this week, haven't we? We have had some paranormal pattern.
Yeah,
We're
I feel
still
like
going strong.
I feel like we're kind of into the red of the revs at this point.
Absolutely.
But I need to excuse the darkness here. I don't know why it's so dark.
Now you're looking a wee bit different.
In
Heather
fact,
does in the comments.
I don't know what it is. I've done it again.
All right, class. So yeah, earlier today we caught up with the man himself, Craig Fairbrass. This is a really a big deal for us, and it's usually when we have a guest on, we come on live now, and we bring that guest on, and they usually chat for about an hour. But as you all know, Mr. Fairbrass is a busy man, and his work never stops. And to be afforded that opportunity today was amazing. And so we did manage to get an interview earlier with him, and we put it out to you guys to send in your questions and stuff. But he comes on to talk about his latest movie, which is A Violent Man, which we saw today. I mean, after the fact, but which is good, because usually, like, to break it down, how it works is usually we kind of work with a couple of different companies that will say, here's what's coming up. If you're interested, let us know. We say we're interested, and then we don't always get the opportunity to watch it beforehand. And I think it's mainly because nowadays piracy is such an issue that you kind of have to watch. So we're still in that grey area where we're going to try to prove that we're worthy. And we actually did get to watch it today, but after we spoke to Craig, which is still cool, because we still managed to. Craig tells us a lot about the movie, and we kind of chat a bit about his movies that we loved. So before we do get to that interview, we're going to chat a bit about Craig's work in the movie industry and the stuff that we love. We were joined today by the man himself, C. Matthewman. Craig, what's up, guys? Jump in, Craig.
There he is.
Yeah. I don't think I called him Craig once today, because we had Craig on the show. I think I just referred to him as Matthewman.
The thing is, you'd be unlikely to be asking that Craig about how the film was made. Do you know what I mean? So if we just said, so Craig, what was it like to work on that film? If Matthewman jumped in, we'd be like, what you doing? You prick.
But then but I guarantee you, Matthewman would have had some sort of something to do with that movie, and we just didn't know. He's very knowledgeable about movies, and what I really like about Matthewman is when we say, oh, there's this actor we're going to speak to you. Like, I love that movie that he was in 1974 that nobody ever heard about, with laser beams and stuff. He always knows the obscure movie.
Do you know he was in episode 3 of Sesame Street?
Good man. So we'll be on till about 10 o'clock, and we'll make sure to get the interview towards the end of the show. Craig Fairbrass, huge fan. The first thing I saw him in was EastEnders when I was a kid. He played Dan the Man, and I remember that how he exited the show was he beat up wee Jamie Mitchell, and then Phil was like, oh, I want to get this guy, but he's too hot to handle, so he set him up, and that kind of seen him exit the square, which then I started seeing him in other movies as I was getting older and starting to watch stuff like Rise of the Foot Soldier and stuff, and White Noise 2: The Light. He's in that as well.
You know, I don't remember much about that film. I've definitely seen it. I remember seeing the first one in the cinema, and the second one, I think, it might have been straight to DVD. I can't remember, but
possibly. Great movie.
Definitely seen it. The White Noise movies are actually they're not spoken about enough. You know,
no, absolutely not.
I think they deserve more credit than they get. I think the problem with the first one, and like just quickly, I thought the end of the first one, it just kind of lost me a little bit, but the rest of the film was so creepy. It's a typical horror trope that the rest of the film's creepy, and then it gets to the end and you go, that was a bit much.
You would.
I can't remember what the second one was like, but I've definitely seen it.
Yeah, he's in it, and he's got a big, as C. Matthewman says, you'll remember his gammy mouth. He definitely does. He has like the scar and stuff, and his eyes a bit white. And anytime I kind of see Craig in these things, I'm always like, brilliant. And by the way,
I think sorry, most people kind of now he's kind of synonymous with Rise of the Foot Soldier, but for me, he's always going to be the guy at the top of the mountain kicking the shit out of Michael Rooker while saying, "Do you like soccer?"
Yeah, cliffhanger. Great
cliffhanger.
Michael Rooker
again, underrated as hell. Underrated as hell. Cliffhanger. Again, there's there's people I know that are massive action fans and always have been. And they're like, I've never seen Cliffhanger. It's amazing. It's such a good film. I think a lot of people checked out at the beginning when the lassie fell up and caught Stallone's arm. You can't fall up, but I think a lot of people kind of checked out then. But the rest of the film's amazing. It really is.
Great movie. Another great movie that we watched with Craig Fairbrass recently was Villain on Netflix. You can watch that now. Not going to spoil it, but for me, like, I enjoy Rise of the Foot Soldier and everything I've seen him in. But this next level, and it's made me want to see more of his recent work, because I watched this not as a young teen anymore. I watched it at the start. So a brief outline of the movie is he's just done a 10 stretch. You can tell I've been watching his movies, right? A 10 stretch. And he's done a 10 stretch, and he comes out looking to make up for the 10 years that he's missed with his daughter and kind of go through it straight and narrow. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. You can tell that he's had a bit of a history of kicking shit at people in his previous, and he wants to keep his head down. But through other circumstances, nothing that directly involves him, he's brought back into the world of crime. And I like that there's just a point in the movie where he's like, you know what, hey guys, you need to pay your bar bill, right? He goes from, I'm trying to turn my life around, to, that's it, I'm biting his nose off. just like that. And I'm like, yes. But there's so much depth in that movie, and Craig's performance is brilliant. We're both fathers, we're both brothers, we're both family men. So there are many aspects. For example, I didn't want anything to happen to his little brother, purely because I'm like, all right, and I've got kids, and I'd like to think that they, as brothers, would defend each other like Craig does in that movie. And then with his daughter, again, the same dynamic. And I'm like, God, I understand that you can tell Craig has kids the way he acted that out, you know. And I thought, strong. You definitely need to check out Villain. Anyone that's not seen it, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, I think it did say it was at #1 on Netflix for 9 days in the UK.
9 days,
That's not easy to do, man. It really isn't. I mean, think about how much stuff gets released every minute nearly on Netflix. Not easy to do. And more recently, with his more recent roles, he seems to have been, I would say, taking on more dramatic roles. He seems to be getting offered them now.
Yeah.
And that he's actually getting the credit he deserves, because I was actually talking to my brother earlier on. I was like, mate, you'll never believe who I've just interviewed. It's like Craig Fairbrass. He says, he's a victim of typecasting, but he's a really good actor. That's what my brother said to me. And you need to really be a good actor for Brian to say that. Like, he doesn't say that lightly. He says, it's a shame, he's a good actor, but he keeps getting typecast. But recently, he's found his groove. And the Villain was an absolute kind of a golden example of that. And Muscle as well, apparently. I've still to see that. But
basically, were you just saying that there, though? Saying that he's been typecast. I love a quote of his that I sent you today, and it was him saying, I'm not afraid of being typecast. It's more not cast. That's just a brilliant attitude.
I know, I'd rather be typecast than not cast.
That's not cast. Bloody epic.
Cheeky geezer.
I think. Here's a question for you. I asking you this question here. What would you like to see him do that you haven't seen him do? For example, he'd play. I don't know now the way everything's going, but he would be a good James Bond, because he has two elements to him. You can enjoy him, you can like him and get on his side, and if he wants to turn that switch, you know, you can also fear him.
I think he's definitely got the potential to play that type of character, but I'm thinking probably, in fact, you know what? He'd be a good Bond villain.
Oh yes, hell yeah.
He'd be a very good Bond villain. That would be cool to see. But I think he's maybe too well known to do it now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, because I mean, I know with Bond, they try to have unknowns or relatively unknowns.
Rami Malek.
Yeah, but
Mads Mikkelsen.
They'll maybe try and make them a bit kind of unrecognizable. I think I'm more talking about James Bond actually than James Bond villains. Yeah, I'm talking balls.
I was like, yeah, Matt
But
Mackleson, nobody ever heard of him until he'd done James Bond.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, you could see, you could definitely see him as a great antagonist for Bond. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
there's there's no denying that. I'm trying to think what else because I was contemplating this earlier on when I was thinking about the fact that especially watching A Violent Man, his acting chops and that wow, spot on.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually even texted him. I said, "Mate, that was a powerhouse performance." Um, what happened there?
That was me coughing and muting it so no one had to have their ears explode.
So yeah, the I was thinking about it earlier on. I was kind of thinking maybe like a law-abiding citizen type of movie, something
Mhm.
like that, where he's like just a normal guy, but he's very smart,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and people underestimate him and they don't know his past. I love that stuff because
Yeah.
unfortunately, like up until these last kind of few movies, he's been basically Pat Tate in most things.
Mm,
Like it's he's
not
just
in White
he's the
Noise.
hard guy.
Not in White Noise.
Most of the time, that's what I'm saying. Most of the time, he's the hard guy that punches. He said it as well. They
Yeah, yeah.
just punches people up in the air. I'm not going to spoil his whole interview.
Tell him
Um,
everything. Stuart, just quickly, Stuart Halley says, "Hey from Mars, Maine." Do you know where Mars, Maine is, J Mac?
it's Maine.
It's on Mars.
No,
Hi, Stuart. Welcome to the
that'll
show.
be a town in Maine in New England,
All right.
Connecticut.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Um,
Connecticut's a state as well. Maine is a
mm,
state near Connecticut, East Coast America. There you
so I'm just saying Mars, right? Somewhere on Mars. Thingy, the one thing I really enjoy about when Craig's on screen is, do you notice that he carries a presence
go.
when he walks in? There's a presence to just his being, and I think that's an asset to have, especially as a bad guy. But then again, a lot of stuff I've been watching with him recently, I'm seeing that other side, the bad guy, but
Yeah.
you're there with
You
him, you know?
you imagine you're sitting in a pub one night, right? And he walks in. He's not a famous guy. Just say he's not a famous guy, but a
Mhm.
guy that is him walks in. You would just be like, uh, it just it carries a presence, man.
He comes
There's
up to you and he's like, "You're sitting in my usual seat."
I'll be like, tell you what, mate, I'll build you a brand new seat and I'll bring it for you tomorrow.
It's like, "No,
Yeah.
I want your seat now."
The thing is, he's a genuinely nice guy as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Which it's great. I mean, it's great to know that. I mean, I think it used to happen more. It used to happen to us more earlier on in the podcast game when we'd be interviewing somebody and you've got a reputation in your mind of what they're going to be like, and
Yeah.
it can be quite intimidating. Um, I did feel like that up until we started speaking, and you just realize he's an actor, he's a guy, and he wants to talk about his movies.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, earlier today, I bought the entire box set of Rise of the Foot Soldier. Now, Rise of the Foot Soldier, I saw it when it first came out, and I mean, I thought it was a good movie,
Mhm.
but I'd never seen any of the sequels up until I think I watched Rise of the Foot Soldier Marbella, which I think
Mhm.
is 4. I watched that maybe 2 months ago, and it was really good, man. It was really funny. It was a really dark sense of humor to it.
Mhm.
And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to kind of visit these. So I've been renting them periodically on Amazon Prime, and I'm like, these are good films, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, I have to have them. And this box
The
set I bought today has the brand new movie in it as well, which is awesome.
Yeah. This is the
Uh,
origins.
Origins, yeah, with
Yeah.
Vinnie Jones, and
Mhm.
obviously Craig himself.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I watched that. I watched that last week, I think, and again, really good kind of dark sense of humor, but it's pretty brutal as well. Pat Tate is Pat Tate, and
Mm.
there's no taking Pat Tate out of Pat Tate.
I'm not taking the tate out of Pat. Yeah. It's I I, re- I always say that these kind of movies, like, you've got your action movies, but the movies that Craig tends to be in are not always something you would just define as action. And I always call it the genre of you fucking mag. Yeah, because it is a lot of that's the kind of lingo that you get in these kind of movies, and
Yeah.
and you know what you're getting as well. So people can say how it's typecast or what. No, actually, you know what you're getting. You know you're going to get a bit of punch up, right? And one of the things about these movies also is they're always really good stories. They're grounded in reality. It's things that can definitely happen. Like
Mm.
you go to a gangster for one reason or another, and before you know it, you're having to jump through hoops just to do something that wasn't supposed to happen anyway, and you feel for that character. And guys like Craig Fairbrass are really good at taking you on that journey. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think again recently he's been getting the chance to really show that.
Hmm.
With um, I've heard actually Craig
Hmm.
Matthewman mentioned earlier on that he watched Muscle, which I am
Hmm.
100% going to watch probably tomorrow.
Hmm.
Muscle, Villain, and A Violent Man. These are dramas with some classic Fairbrass mixed in. Um, but he's acting the balls off it. It really is.
Hmm. Really is good. We have a comment here from Janice Mary Faust, and she says, "Hey, from Indiana, USA. Hey, we got some Americans in tonight."
We do have some
Yeah,
Americans
yeah.
in tonight. This is
Um,
cool.
I know John Kavanagh Harns. Nice to see you, mate. He says, "Hello, guys. Hope all is good. All
I
is
love that.
fantastic."
I love that spelling of hello. Hello.
Hello, guys. All is great, mate. We're gonna get to an interview very soon that we done today, and we also offered the opportunity for Craig to come on at any point if he wants to talk about anything
He's
else.
gonna he's gonna pop up. You know
You
he's
think
gonna
so?
pop up.
I'd love that to have it in long form, a proper sit down. Maybe he's got a beer or something, and we have a good hour long conversation with everybody interacting. But these things are they are the way they are. We are absolutely blessed to have that opportunity to actually speak to Craig on the show. I mean, imagine that when we started the show 3 years ago, and it wasn't even a video. You couldn't see it. Um, we
Remember, you
were
had to
bare.
convince me. You had to convince me to go to video, and I was like, I don't know, man. This is it's getting a bit real." And now I couldn't imagine doing it any other way.
Exactly
It's just
a
it's
waste.
great.
And I
Even
mean,
if I'm having a bad hair day like today, look at this wee mad quiff. What's that?
mate, look at the state of
Can't
me.
get rid of that.
And every day I was like, we need to also go live. We're missing that live element. So you go back 3 years ago, and we were barely able to even get an episode out without it crashing. And then fast forward 3 years, and
Remember that we were recording it on an iPad or an old
Mhm,
broken laptop and stuff like that. I
mhm.
mean, look what we've got now. We've upgraded to our Shure microphones.
State
We've
of the
got
art.
yeah, you've got that um room that you're in is just gradually gotten better and better. This one's
Mhm,
gradually gotten better and better. Um, and it's life now. And
mhm.
it has felt like life this week because it's just it's just been bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, yeah.
But I love every single minute of it, and I want to thank you for it, Kevin, because it was all your
Hey,
brainchild.
and thank everyone. Everybody's a part of this show. All the guests, the co-hosts, the people that come in every week to see us, to chat to us, and this is why we always. And by the way, can I just say, some of the great guests that we've had on this show, right? Other podcasts make you pay just to interact, right? Which is something that we always give out for free because we're all about the community. We're all about talking about movies and sharing the love with the movies. The movie industry had hit it hard when piracy became like a very popular thing and everybody was able to do it. Um, so for us to kind of try and see that in our own wee way that we're giving back to the industry by talking about movies, by telling you to go and watch it, so that maybe you do like that and you watch something else that he was in or he made, these kind of things, and just all round creating a community for that to exist
Mm,
means more than gaining a couple bucks in our pocket because we genuinely do this for
absolutely.
the love of it.
And one thing I would say today when I was watching A Violent Man, I
Mhm,
actually I, I felt so privileged with the
mhm,
fact that it said at the bottom property of Vertigo releases.
mhm.
I was like, This is a screener. I've been sent a screener, and it's completely legal."
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's like as a podcast, we were given the opportunity
Yeah.
to get an advanced showing of this film. There's an advanced screening of this film tomorrow night
Tomorrow, yep.
in Genesis Cinema in London. Um, and we got to watch it in the comfort of our own homes for the sake of this podcast and speaking to Craig, and I'm endlessly grateful for that. It's just these are things that I never thought would be like possible at all, and it's all coming to fruition. It's a long journey, it's a long climb, but it's worth the slog that you put in.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, Jenny's. So yeah, so I'm happy to go ahead and put the interview on. It's a good 20 minutes. So if everybody's sat tight, we can play this interview, and then we'll kind of see you on the flip side of that, and we'll chat a little bit. But make sure
we'll still be here as well. So send in your comments. We'll be bringing them up on screen.
I'll pop them up on screen, and we can also play them in the chat. Todd Forrest sent in a video question. By the way, that's another thing.
Prodigal son returns.
If ever we've got a guest on and you're not going to make it the show live, send us in a portrait, landscape. Sorry,
you've just screwed it up.
I know.
Rewind.
If you send me a portrait and I ask specifically for a landscape, I will not play it. So always send a landscape video of yourself asking a question, and I will 100% play that to our guests, because they love to be reached out to. That's why they do it. They do it for them, and they do it for us. So yeah, Todd, your wee video's coming up soon. So without further ado, ladies and gents, here is the interview that we recorded earlier with the man himself, Craig Fairbrass. Hey, Craig Fairbrass. Craig, it's an absolute pleasure to be speaking to you. We've watched many of your movies growing up. I remember when Phil Mitchell set you up in EastEnders, and I was raging because I like a good bad guy, and I was quite invested in your character. And then since Phil got you sent away, it's kind of, I stopped watching EastEnders.
Trust me. 30 movies later. I've been stuck there. I was there.
Hey, some folk go back to Albert Square as a nice wee. I think it'd be good to see Dan the Man back. And to be fair, I probably don't actually know anything about what's going on in EastEnders. No way. But not tomorrow, but the next.
Saying that, in their defence, I had a lovely time there. Met some lovely people, and it was an experience, like any acting job you do. You know, they all serve a purpose. They're all stepping stones.
We'll chat a small part about some of the greatest roles you've done. I know we're all fans of different stuff that you've done throughout your career, but we're going to talk a little bit about here A Violent Man, which looks brilliant. We've seen the trailer. It comes out in 2 days, so that comes out on February the 4th. I know that tomorrow as well you will be in East London doing a screening of A Violent Man, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it's a preview screening and a Q&A at the Genesis Cinema in Mile End. Yeah. Where I was born, funny enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there still tickets for that, or is that completely wiped out now?
No, there's a few left, funny enough. Yeah, because I had to give some comps back. So, yeah, there's a few more left.
Oh, right. That's pretty good.
Get on it, people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely something we'd be up for if we were closer.
Where are you based?
We're between Glasgow and Edinburgh. Between us all, yeah, so it's quite a bit. I mean,
helicopter.
Yeah,
if you've got a spare one, man.
But I think those were props. No, I'm like, you can tell that your character's been in jail for 20 years, and he sees a little bit of something in himself in this other character. So is it like your character is almost kind of trying to protect this other character from going down the same kind of road?
Yeah. Basically, he murdered his wife, murdered her lover. He's been institutionalized from a very young age in and out of prison. But he's killed 2 other people in Nick. So this is his life, the monotonous everyday existence of prison life. And he's unrepenting. He's primal. He's just, you know, every day is torture. He's a tortured soul.
Yeah.
And it's dealing with a system. And then right out of the blue, he gets a new cellmate, a young kid, young black fella who's a gang member. And over time, their relationship grows, and you can see that Steve recognises a lot of attributes in him that he had when he was young, growing up, and he feels for him.
Yeah.
And their relationship grows, and he steps in to help him out with some trouble. And then they're both together against the system, you know. But it's a very, very deep, dark, tragic tale. Not a, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't look like. I mean, you mentioned just before we pressed record that you've started doing films with more of a kind of dramatic flair to them, as well as the punching people up in the air side of it. This obviously, it looks like it's going along the same lines. I know from the title itself and from what we know about it, we know it is still violent. But
Yeah.
does it have, I mean, is it a kind of 50-50 split between the drama and violence, or does
Oh,
violence
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. What you've got is a very, very brutal, violent film, but accompanying that, you've got a really good story and some really good actors telling a really good story. It's not just, we've all seen a million prison films, you know, some good, some bad. This is a very, very dark, brutal tale. And it's punctuated by some really good actors. It really is. It's a gripping story. The reactions we've had and the reviews, are breathtaking. Literally, I mean, they're coming out hourly. It's just, I'm over the moon with it. I mean, I couldn't wish for it to be received better than it has been, to be honest with you.
And this was directed and written by Ross McCall. Now, do you find working with a director who is primarily an actor, do you find it feels different to just working with somebody who solely directs and produces? Do they have a different flair to it?
Yeah, I mean, Villain, which I did. These are the same producers. This film is made by the same people who made Villain.
Brilliant movie.
Phil Barantini's an actor. So you tend to, they sort of know what you're going through because they're actors themselves, and you know, you're either in tune or you're not. Luckily, I worked really well with Phil. We got on beautifully, and I was a massive fan of Ross's. I love Band of Brothers. I think he's a great actor. And when they gave me the script and said, "Listen, this is written by Ross," I thought, "Oh, it's going to be a." But he'd done such a beautiful job. It's such an artistic piece. It's got so much weight to it, and so much. It's just interesting, you know. It's a good script. I read it. I just found it a little bit too violent. I've got to be honest with you, because the violence in this is it's not comic violence. It's very quick and brutal, like real violence happens. You know, knives and stuff and shanks and things and tools in prison. But I gravitate. One of the things that made me want to do this film is the fact that Bart Ruspoli, who's got great taste in films, had just made Boiling Point with Stephen Graham. They'd shot that film all in one take. And he said to me, "Listen, I've got this script, read it, tell me what you think." I read it. I said, "Listen, it's really violent. It is incredible." He said, "But I want to do it all in one room." And I was like, really? I said, I don't know how you can do that. He said, "We're going to build it so we can take the ceiling out, the walls out, the floor out, this out, this out." While that was happening, Stefan Kupek, one of the top DOPs in the business, came on board. We did in excess of 135 different setups. That camera never leaves that room. And you'd never know it watching it because it's done so well. Not one shot is repeated. So you're constantly looking at something different, and there's an energy to it.
It certainly has a very kind of unique style from what we can see in the trailer. A lot of clever use of lighting and stuff like that. It's not just a standard. Here's your movie. It looks like there's a lot of time and effort going into the look of
Ross
it.
had a very clear vision of the film he wanted to make, and he would not. He wouldn't relent. You know, it was like, this is what we're doing. And I like that. You know what I mean? That he was the man guiding us all. But you know, incredible actors as well. Jason Fleming, Stephen Adubola, Zoe Tapper, Ulrich Thompson, Morgan Watkins. You know, when you see the film, you'll see the quality of actors in it. Just incredible.
Yeah.
And it's so good to work when you're working with great people. It's
because it was a kind of small set that you were working in. Did that add to the tension? Like, did you have to do anything special to prepare for that? Because
no, it was absolutely draining. It was it was because it was in lockdown as well. It was brutal. You know, going to the set every day, lots of people, lots of cameras, cables, lights, and very claustrophobic, very packed. Masks on when we weren't filming. When we was filming, they would come off and then we would shoot. But it was a very, very difficult shoot. I've got to be honest with you. But we got through it, and I think it helped with the energy of everybody's demeanour, the way they were. It was, you actually felt like it was a Nick.
Yeah. I mean, that's. I mean, it was filmed in the height of the pandemic. I mean, it was summer 2020, from what I read. I mean, what kind of challenges did that present, other than the masks coming on and off? And
it was just difficult because obviously we all had to be tested every other day. Our doctors coming to my house to test me regularly. I drove myself to the set because, you know, drivers and bits and pieces, social distancing, lunch times, trying to be as on top of it as we possibly can. But, you know, it was difficult. It was difficult. But as I said, I think it actually worked in our favour because everybody was on it. You know, everybody adhered to the rules, and here we are.
With regards to your character, did you feel that, like, have you ever gone and had, like, for example, your character's in jail and he's been there for 20 years. Do you just read the script yourself and go, right, I'm going to get into this character and create something purely from the pages? Or have you ever found yourself going to meet with someone that's been through that kind of life? Because a lot of the characters you've played are very hard men and people that have dealt with a lot of stuff. So if there's anything that doesn't like kind of happen in your own life, I know actors are really good at becoming the character, but is there a specific thing you had to do to get into the character for the new movie? No,
it's all on the page. It's all in the writing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's down to me whether I can make it real or not. That's how I look at things. That's how I try to do things. I don't want to copy anybody or try and imitate them. You know what I mean? Because then it becomes fucking jokey. So I just try to absorb the material and then make it as real and as natural as I possibly can, and try not to overact. Do you know what I mean? That's the challenge. You know,
your performances are always real.
Yeah. I like to just chuck everything away and just be, you know, like we're sitting here chatting now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's hard to do, trust me.
I can imagine.
Yeah, when you watch like kind of British prison movies, they always seem that bit more edgy and real. So when you watch the ones from America, and it's always glamorized and over the top, he's in charge. Your British films always put you off wanting to go to prison. You would never
I know what you're saying.
They always have that sense of realism. Did you
I mean, The Violent Man it's a depressing film. It made me feel quite anxious when I was watching it. Even though I was in it, you know, it just made me feel. It made me, you know, I remember when I was doing it, I was thinking, can you imagine having to be in prison for that amount of time? You know, knowing that you've got nothing to look forward to.
Yeah.
You know, day after day after day. You know, the nice thing about, someone picked up it as well, you know, Mackleson's, he's educated himself in prison. He's a reader. If he's not, he doesn't really waste much time. You know, he's done what he can to, and from family members who have done a little bit of whatever, you know, at Her Majesty's pleasure, they always try to turn a negative to a positive. You know, with the reading, the learning of something, trying to somehow come out of that situation with something positive, as opposed to just playing cards all day. You know.
Yeah. When you've got nothing but time, why waste it?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But you get a sense of that film of. I mean, I just thought it must be horrible. You know?
Yeah.
When you look at the trailer, the actual kind of prison cell, there's nothing in it. It's just such a blank space. So I don't know if that kind of adds to the kind of the sense of the film, where you're saying it's a kind of mean, kind of sad film essentially, but the set kind of backs that up.
Yeah. No,
Did
the fellas that we had who came in to play all our I don't want to say bad guys, the fellas who were confronting us in the prison world that we was up against, they're just such good actors. I mean, all of them brought something to that. They're all so real and horrible.
Yeah.
You know? It's just a sense of, you know, that horrible. It's just everything about it, the atmosphere. Draining experience.
It sounds almost indescribable.
Yeah, it is, because at the beginning of the film, I mean, I had to sort of attack this more like a play because I got so much dialogue. Once it moves in, it starts off with me not really saying too much, and then we got these big 10-page scenes because a lot of it is, you know, it's dialogue, but beautiful dialogue. I mean, beautifully written and interesting and colourful, and it's a good piece. Trust me, it's a quality piece.
We've been binging quite a lot of your previous movies, Villain being one of them. And one of the things about Villain as well, and many of your other movies, is when you're in a scene with someone, you know how sometimes in a movie like a violent movie, you're waiting for a lot of people to get glassed and you want to see that action. But what I find great is you're really good at keeping a conversation and keeping everybody's attention, watching what's going on the screen, and you find yourself really invested. Villain we'd recently just watched Villain. I can't believe I hadn't seen it before, and that's probably the first time where I've watched with something with you in it, where we know that your character's been in jail for 10 years, but we're all on your side and rooting for you, because you can see that your character has got to that point where it's like, I've done the crime and I've done all this and I'm ready to move on, but you can't. And sometimes that's the real reality of crime. Sometimes it's not always your fault as to why you're in the position you're in. And your character Villain accepted that.
Yeah, very, very true. And Steve picks up on that with young Marcus. You know, he says, you know, sometimes, you know, you're a product of society. You know what I mean? You don't really. Sometimes some people don't really get that bigger chance to change. And but the last three characters have been very lucky. You know, with Muscle, with Terry, even though he was a psychopathic lunatic, there was something endearing about him deep down. You know what I mean? There was a vulnerability that you sort of slightly not warm to, but more so with Eddie Franks in Villain, and now more so even with Steve Mackleson, even though he's a killer. There's something in there that you sort of, I don't know. There's a likability. Yeah. You know, they're not one-dimensional characters. You know what I mean? There's a lot more going on.
I feel like when I was watching it, I felt like if you were my friend and we were having a beer, things would be great and we would have a great time. But if I'm your enemy, I'm probably going to get a part of my face bitten off. You know what I mean? And that's it's as long as you don't cause your characters any issues, then you know that you would get on good with that character and you probably have a great time. And everybody seemed to, like the daughter, for example, your daughter in the movie.
What, Villain?
As much as she was very much
Hoyle, fantastic actress.
You could tell that she was hurt and wanted to kind of keep the relationship at bay, but you could also see that she was yearning to be with her dad, and he was wanting to do the same. And you aren't in a lot of scenes together, but you've managed to really pull at that. And anybody that's a father watching would definitely feel that and see that scene where you had to say goodbye. Sarian.
You know, Netflix. Villain was number 1 on Netflix.
It was
9 days, and number 2 in overall content for the same time. And I've literally, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands and thousands and thousands of messages of people discovering that film and saying what you just said.
Yeah.
Because that scene at the end when I leave her in the calf works.
Yeah.
Sometimes them scenes don't, you know, and it's a killer. But when they do work,
yeah,
they're stunning. And the amount of people who've messaged me and said, "My God, that scene at the end,"
Yeah.
which is great to hear. Do you know what I mean? I love hearing it that it's affected people or moved them in a way that they've gone, oh, that's not your usual gangster type film. There's a little bit more going on there.
I really, really hope that the roles like that just keep coming to you, man, because you're smashing them right out of the fucking park. So Villain is obviously on Netflix, and A Violent Man, that's released on Friday. Is that in cinemas and streaming?
I mean, they all get their little date release now, and same time, I suppose it'll be on Sky, Netflix, Amazon, iTunes, the usual streaming services. But check it out if you get a moment.
Absolutely will.
Absolutely. I can't wait. I really can't.
We got a question here sent in from one of our audience members, a close friend, who was dying to ask you this question about one of your movies. I'll just play the clip right now.
Hi there, Craig. My name's Todd. I'm one of Kevin's friends. I just wanted to ask you a quick question about what it was like to be in one of the greatest movies of all time, that being 2013's Bullock Quo. Thank you.
Bullock Quo. I picked that film for one fucking reason. That was going to feed you for 6 weeks.
He is a massive.
You know what? All joking aside, I knew the guy making it. And he said, I want you to play the manager. I said, well, where are you filming it? We're filming it in Fiji. I'll fly you out first class, put you up in Mel Gibson's hotel. In his 2 rooms that he's got at the hotel down on the beach. I went, I'm in. But it was one of them jobs that I had such a lovely time on it. And I became really good friends with Rick Parfitt, sadly, God rest his soul.
Yeah.
He was such a lovely man. And we became really good mates. And I was gutted when he died, but it was a lot of fun. It's one of them jobs where you sit there and you watch the sun go down. You're on the other side of the world and you go, I love this game. I love this game. And I'm getting paid for it.
Getting paid, sunset and status quo. I mean, is that not just a dream job, right? It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, Craig. We can't actually wait to watch A Violent Man. It would have been cool if we could have got sent it. I didn't know that.
We're quite joking. I was joking when I said to you, but usually, obviously, they send you you should have got a little. I'm surprised they never sent you a little downloadable so you could have seen it, but it doesn't matter.
I suppose with nowadays, it's probably hard for them to trust people.
Of course.
To build that
because he looks like he would nick it. I'm sorry.
Who him? J-Mac.
Excuse me, I bought and paid for this today. I've been watching them all on Amazon Prime, and I'm like, I'm fed up and not being able to hold these movies in my hand. So it was purchased today.
So you might see a collection pack.
This is. I didn't know it had a box set, but beautiful cover art. So
that box set comes out every Christmas.
Never seen it before. But yeah, HMV $15.99. Get it now.
Yeah,
very much worth it.
Listen, chaps, lovely meeting you. Really good. It's nice to meet a group of people. It's like a party.
Well, you can come to this party anytime, Craig. We go live every Friday, so if you're ever up for a chat, we're always here, mate. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Posted anything new that's coming out. You never know.
Absolutely, yeah. And
please do.
Send us
a couple of computer games.
Call of Duty. There we go.
Yeah.
So thanks very much for your time, Craig, and we might see you again.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
Thanks,
Craig. Thanks again, mate. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.
And there it was. What an interview we had today with Craig. I love it. That was quite surreal. And by the way, guess who's here? It's not Craig Fairbrass, it's Craig Matthewman.
It's the other Craig.
Other less attractive Craig.
or as the Americans say, Craig. Why do Americans say Craig?
Oh, that brings me big time.
That's in Friday after next. Craig.
It's not even just Friday. It's what Americans call fucking Craig. They change it to.
To be honest.
Hang on. This is.
All the best, Janice. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah,
Hopefully see you
hang
again
on.
soon.
Here we go. Oh yeah, I forgot there was like 97 Americans watching tonight.
Yeah. So since that interview, we actually got to watch the movie, and my God, Craig Matthewman. I like
I
that.
only
Craig
watched
stuff.
half.
Right.
So far.
How, like, again, not a huge cast, set in the same four walls. You don't actually leave the room, yet very gripping, and you don't tell me if I'm wrong, but when you're watching it, you're not like, oh, this is dragging on or nothing. You're invested in exactly everything that's being seen. You're there with the characters. You're kind of like, well, it's like an insight to the world of prison through this movie. Would you say?
Aye. You kind of forget after a while that it is just in the one room, and it's the scummiest room I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Off doing anything bad and getting sent to prison.
Wait. You ever stayed in a travel lodge?
just clear something up for me here, okay? Right, we're gonna, and I'll say this spoiler free, right? But there's a moment in that, in a very early scene in this movie, where he takes his hand and takes something from someone, from a specific place, and wipes it over his face, right? Because I was like, did he just do that? Did he just do that? Because all I could hear in my head after speaking to Craig and then watching this was, he kind of sees a little bit of himself, and it kind of takes him on board like a big brother. And I'm like, I've never done that to my wee brother. Probably should have, but I've never done that to my wee brother.
I don't know if my big brother's watching, but man, do you remember that time? No, he never did that to me. He never did that to me. A horrible thing to do.
When you finally get around to watching Muscle, there's a scene that kind of ties into that.
Wow.
Oh Jesus, man!
You see it, and it makes sense to you.
So, just to talk about A Violent Man for a minute. Now, this film, and it kind of this is going to sound ridiculous, but see, when I was watching it, the more I was getting invested in it, and when it got to the end, I felt like I'd actually just watched a monster movie, like King Kong or something. It's like, I mean, the protagonist of the film is essentially a fucking monster.
Yeah,
right? He's an absolute monster, and yet you feel like you're kind of on his side. Like when you watch Godzilla or King Kong and stuff like that, you're always on their side for no good reason. Like for literally no good reason, you're on their side because they're destroying the cities, they're standing on people, they're picking people up and squashing them, they're eating
they have
people.
their reasons. They have their reasons.
But they didn't know. They just kind of woke up and went, I'm raging. But with him, he's just a horrible human being. But yet you feel like you kind of get on his level, and it's not easy to make a film that does that. I mean, kudos to Ross McCall for putting that together.
Yeah.
Ross McCall also, and in fact, you know what? Everybody in this film put in an absolutely stellar performance. There's not one person in the film, all the way from Craig down to the fellas that play the prison guards. Not one performance you can pick a hole in. Everybody's performance was both realistic and enthralling. I can't believe an independent prison movie, British prison movie, was able to get such acting talent. I mean, it goes to show you that just because you're a movie star doesn't mean you're a good actor.
Yeah.
These people are actors that do it day in, day out. It's a grind for them. It's their 9 to 5 essentially, and they go unnoticed for whatever reason. But everybody in this film, I mean, there's some other well-known names in the film. Obviously, you've got Ross McCall, who shows up. You've also got Jason Fleming from a million things. To name a couple, Snatch and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. He played
Robin Lang was in that as well.
Dr. Jekyll. Yeah, I mean, honestly, man, the performances in that film were just incredible, and the way the film looked as well. I mean, Kevin, you say something about the way it looks, because I've just gushed on it.
No, it has that very eerie feeling. Like that's what you imagined prison to be like when you were a kid, and someone said you'd go to jail. or killers go to jail.
That's what it should be like.
Right. But then when you see on TV here in Britain, you see it's nothing like that. You're kind of like, oh, right, it doesn't actually look that bad.
They're leaning back in their lazy boys playing a PlayStation. Like, so yeah, I got 5 years for burglary. It's like 5 years to do what? 5 years to chill the fuck.
I could probably run a podcast for yourself, but that,
I've done my sell up nice, haven't I?
But I like how it grounds you and kind of the way they've made it look and feel is like there's nothing to do bar stab each other. Right? It's a whole new world, right? And yet so dark and gloomy. Is exactly how
stab themselves once. They can't just stab somebody once.
Mate, the opening's credits, it's just like
we won't call that a spoiler.
It's literally the first minute of the film.
Yeah. When I said to you earlier on, I was like, oh, no spoilers. It was like it's literally the first frame. You know what I mean? You can't spoil a film within the first 5 seconds of it.
Exactly, that's the rule.
But before actually, Craig, you haven't been here for the first half of the podcast. Tell your wee story about what was going on in the background.
I was listening in. I was listening in. I absolutely positively wasn't watching the football, by the way. I was listening in, so I was kind of keeping tabs.
That's where everyone is tonight, the football. I was going to say that, but we got a lot of people in tonight considering the football is on. They're what we call our loyalists. Okay.
Oh Jesus! Don't use that word. Don't use that word. Christ.
I've really enjoyed the movie, A Violent Man, and I can't wait for everybody at home to see it. I know that it will be out on video on demand, so you'll find it on Sky. I don't know if it'll go straight to Netflix, because that's always something. Netflix is funny. You usually find that movies tend to end up on there. They don't kind of release straight to there, especially if they've got other distributors.
Unless they make it.
Yeah. Which they didn't. So
yeah,
it'll be on there straight away. But if you can find a cinema and go and see that in a cinema, it's definitely. I mean, if you said to me it's on down at the old cinema down the road, I definitely would go and check it out. I'd go see it again just to see it in the cinema. I think.
In fact, see, when I was looking back at the interview, I was thinking if we lived nearby, he was going to comp us those tickets.
No, it's comp enough of them.
No, he had to return them, but he would have comped them out again if we were nearby. I swear to God. Craig, if you're watching, tell me I'm wrong.
maybe for Matthewman and myself, he thinks you look dodgy.
I did actually. I mean, out of all of us, I think I look the least dodgy. I mean, you've got a receding hairline. Craig, you're wearing a hoodie. I mean, come on.
You're left-handed and used to decide to fucking shave your head like Megamind.
I was a bit like Megamind, wasn't I?
Right?
I never noticed that before.
So didn't tell me that you're the least dodgy person on this bloody show. One thing I'll say is Craig Fairbrass is in a different stratosphere now. I think where he's at now, that anything you see with his name on it, you know it's going to be good.
I think after the performance he's put in that film, he can hold his own against basically any well-known British actor, if not American. I mean, the guy. I mean, I'm not just saying this to gush. I mean, he gave us an interview earlier on, right? So you could just say, "Oh, you're just saying that because he came on the show." I'm genuinely not. I mean, if he came on and did the interview, and I thought the film was terrible, I would say it in a nice way. What I'm saying here is this guy is now getting the opportunities to do the types of films he should have been doing.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that. Because, like I said, he knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, we've got a question here, not a question, a statement here from Heather Dow saying, "Bah ha 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 ha, Megamind. Craig can't wait to see the JMac a mind." Oh, now there's Heather putting in requests to Matthew to make you
Heather
look
was
like
sending me photos. It was her that sent me the photo of you with your belt.
I'm not bringing that up.
Yes, you are. You have to.
I don't have it on me right now. I'll post it on the Instagram for anybody watching.
No, that does not count. I know that if I say to you, if we're in the middle of an interview and I say, I don't know how quickly Kevin could bring this up, but Kev, if you could do such and such, within 30 seconds, you're able to bring that up, and I know it. I've seen it happen. So within 30 seconds, I expect to see you wearing your cowboy hat and your wrestling belt right up on this screen. And if I don't see it, it's because you're a charlatan, you're a fake, and you do not deserve to have a podcast. And I'm firing you on the spot, and I'm employing Craig as my left-hand man because you're on the left, and also get your advice for how to run the show. There it is. Look at that, mate. Mate, did you have like 1.5 tattoos?
Kinda. That was like 10 years ago.
It's like, have you got stars tattooed on there, or is that bullet holes? Bring that up again.
The stars. I need to see you as Megamind now. I can't. If Matthewman doesn't do it, I'm going to do it.
Craig, you also have to put Kevin into Breaking Bad. It has to happen. So that's
bloody hell.
So in retrospect, I know, Craig, you're only halfway through the movie. What do you think of it so far? Where are you up to without spoiling?
The bit where
no, basically, I don't want to say anything with it. Basically, everybody had rushed his cell and were dealing with it.
That was a bit random, eh?
Okay,
that was just a bit random. Just start running in and start doing something. Like that was
what are your? But I think that's what prison's like.
Yeah,
you could be sitting there eating a pot noodle and all of a sudden be getting your brains bashed in with.
This is unexpected. This is unexpected.
So, what's your thoughts so far?
Yeah, it's you see, you put anybody else in that role, and you wouldn't like him as much. I don't know if you could put like maybe a Vinnie Jones. He's a bit of a dick, but you kind of like his character because he's so calm. Like that's he's just sitting reading a book for like the first 20 minutes, but so calm. And
yeah, there's something very likable.
You know he's a bad guy. You get that sense like that. Don't fuck with this guy. He's proper good.
Yeah.
There's Big Brian. Sorry, Big Brian's just back for the football. He went to the game tonight. Right now, I know for a fact, without even checking, I know that the Green and Whites have won based on the fact that he's even texting in tonight. Aye, am I right?
Last I checked, aye, you're right. It's not like they were winning; it was like they were humping.
What was the final score? Spoiler alert before anybody won. What's the final score?
3-9.
3-0. Oh, Syrian. And I wish I gave a shit.
Yeah. So,
Kevin, in your opinion, just put it together in a nutshell. What is A Violent Man? What is that movie?
It's almost like one of those BBC Three documentaries where you'd be like, follow us as we follow our neighbor as he takes on this challenge in his life. To me, it kind of almost felt like a diary of a madman who's in prison and has come to terms that that's it.
That rings a bell.
What?
A Diary of a Madman.
What?
Look at me. He knows.
What?
Mate, Ozzy Osbourne. You like pretending he doesn't know.
But I don't see the.
You don't see the correlation between you saying it's like a Diary of a Madman and Ozzy Osbourne having an album called A Diary of a Madman. You don't see the connection.
I don't see it being the same. I don't see Ozzy Osbourne as Craig Fairbrass's character, Steve Mackleson.
No. But okay. So a diary of a madman.
Yeah, pretty much. It's his journey through. I mean, he's got no hope. He knows he's in there, and because something happened, the reason he's in there, there is no hope. So you take hope away from a man, and put him in a place where it's dog eat dog. You're going to get Steve Mackleson, and that delivers it very much.
There's a line in the film. I'm not going to count this as a spoiler. I think it's quite a profound statement. It said, "You put a tool rag in prison, you end up with a dangerous man. You put a dangerous man in prison, you basically reap what you sow."
Mhm.
And it was, I can't, I lost the exact line, but I wrote it down somewhere, and I've lost my notepad since that nonsense in the house. But I feel like that film is it's an illustration of what prison should be, but also what you would not want it to be. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like, just say you get done for, I don't know, unpaid parking tickets, and you end up in a place like that. Whereas, like,
if you go in there, we're going to put you in for 2 months. That 2 months turns into 6 years because within those 2 months you've had to plug somebody.
yeah, I mean, this is I don't know if any of you guys have seen the film Shot Caller with Nikolai Coster-Waldau. Is that his name?
No.
He played Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones. Shot Caller. It's on Netflix. Great film about a white collar guy, like total like pillar of the community, goes to jail after getting drunk and driving his car, smashing, killing people, and ends up like walking about with the plaid shirt and the big tash. You know, he's prison made him the criminal, whereas he wasn't a criminal. He might have committed a crime, but he wasn't a criminal. Do you know what I mean? There's a difference between somebody who has committed a crime, broken the law, and a criminal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of essentially described. I don't know if you've seen the film. Craig Fairbrass is in this one as well. Avengement. Have you seen that? That's the one.
No, that's Scott Adkins, isn't it?
Basically, Scott Adkins is like Craig Fairbrass is a big gangster guy, and Scott Adkins is his brother who wants to be the good guy, and he gets set up, and then he ends up going to jail, and basically, spoiler alert, jail turns him into a psycho, and all he wants to do is get revenge on Craig Fairbrass. It's a good film. I think that's on Netflix as well.
Dang.
I've seen it on Netflix, but I don't know why, man. I'm just not the biggest Scott Adkins fan. I mean, if everyone wants to come on the podcast, I probably will be. but no, I'm not as big as fan. Although he was a great antagonist in Ip Man 4. I think Ip Man 4. He was Ip Man. Ip Man. Have you guys seen the Ip Man movies?
I've seen them, man.
Aye, he was the soldier boy. Remember? And I'm sure it was Ip Man 4. He was the guy who basically refused. He was the karate expert that refused to accept that kung fu was worthwhile. And obviously, it ends up in a fight between him and Ip Man. Anyway,
the Undisputed movies are good. Well, 2 onwards.
Undisputed. Am I right in saying that was Wesley Snipes to begin with?
The first one was about boxing, and then the second one just all of a sudden was kung fu and karate and martial arts.
It's not like tapping into a name. But we're going way off topic. A Violent Man is this isn't your standard Craig Fairbrass. It's not your standard Craig Fairbrass gangster London geezer thing. This is a drama. This is a proper drama with real people, real values, real cinematography, real everything. This film is something to behold. Actually, I mean, and I can't put any words. I mean, I saw the end of it literally like 5 minutes before we started this program, and it's a sore one. It's a hard hitter. He said it himself. He said the film is depressing. It's supposed to be. There are films that are depressing accidentally, but this film is supposed to make you just sit there and go fuck, and it works.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to everything he does from this point forward, because I think he's finally getting the films that he deserves.
Yeah, I second that, and I also would like to own that on Blu-ray when there's a physical release. But for now, you guys and everyone at home are going to be able to watch it as of Friday, the 4th of February. Make sure to check it out everywhere that it's available. It won't be hard to find. A Violent Man. If it's in the cinema, make sure to go check it out. Even tweet Craig, send him plenty of messages and let him know if you liked or didn't like it. And let's hope that there's more of this stuff to see from Craig and the gang that made some of these great movies. It's been a pleasure, guys, and it's been amazing speaking to Craig, and we'll definitely have more people coming on the show very, very soon, so keep your eyes open for that. As always, thank you for your support, everybody. I mean, look at that, the football was on the night, and yet everybody came in to say hi, at least to show face. We've got a great wee community, and we enjoy bringing this to you guys. Craig Matthewman for the amazing artwork that you see on this down at the bottom left here, and during the intro. Craig, your talent, it must be a Craig thing. All the talented people were called Craig.
I was just going to thank the two of you for letting me in today.
No.
Like,
least we could do, mate.
I think as I've showed you my collection of 90s crappy sci-fi DVDs that I've got that Craig started out in. Like, I've quite liked the guy since, as you say, Cliffhanger. He used to quote his character when we were playing football.
Do you like soccer?
Just one another in the face, but
no, that's amazing.
Our
pleasure, mate. Our pleasure, and there'll be more of that to come for sure. Like I say, we like to keep our wee community all together and make sure that everybody gets a chance to do the cool stuff. This isn't just for the old podcasters, eh? So on that note, guys, enjoy the rest of your lovely evening, and we will see you on Friday. But who will the guest be? Well, keep an eye on our social media. Something really cool coming. I definitely think so. And we will make sure to bring you all the greatest content that we can. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find all our socials at jibberjabberpodcast.com. If you'd like to see us have a guest, send us an email. Let us know who you'd like us to have on, and we'll tell you no. No, I'm kidding. We'll get them on. But on that note, guys, it's been amazing. Great experience, and I will catch you guys on the flip side.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy, guys. Bye.